I'm trying to get to Mary. Mary. One of the things I'm trying to do, there's a couple things I'm trying to do, and I'm being deliberate, but that deliberation like far exceeds the focus of this particular talk. To my mind, so far, the first Mary, not the first, but the most important Mary of the age is Mary Totten, Akhenaten's daughter, 18th dynasty escapee, who is well associated with Scota, the founder of Scotland. And you say, whoa, this black chick, founder of Scotland? That sounds like horseshit. Yet at the same time, scientifically, the first known archaeological proven quote unquote inhabitant, citizen, person of Britain, the oldest British person ever found. They call him Cheddar Man. I believe Cheddar Man. I believe they call him Cheddar Man. Something like that. This mummy, 10,000 years old. Or was it 10,000 BC? 10 or 12? Anyway, thereabouts. Cheddar Man. And recently with DNA analysis, they figured that he was a brown-skinned, curly-haired, blue-eyed man. And that he is responsible for 10% of the offspring, which is to say 10% of Britons share his DNA. Black and blue eyes. So I'll leave that up to you to interpret symbolically, culturally, and so on. I'm trying to get to Mary Totten, Akhenaten's daughter, which is the common storyline, but who is she really? But to my mind, she's the first Mary, symbolic, strong. Why? Everything that happened in the 18th dynasty, from the end of the 17th dynasty to the beginning of the 19th dynasty, everything that happened is like the crux of the Old Testament. And so what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to say with all of this is like, there are, and again, I have the wrong words. I don't know how to say things correctly. But like, I'm trying to give props, right? Like, I understand, like, I'm a stupid shit fucking, honky white dude. Okay. If you hate me for my white privilege, I don't blame you. Like, but trust me, it's no picnic. So, okay, I just had to say that to, like, say it, but, like, I'm trying to get this shit out of the way to get to what I'm trying to get to, because I actually don't give a fuck about any of that shit. But I know people do, and I'm trying to give respect to it, because I respect the empathy, the intent. And sometimes within circles of philosophy, empathy is prized above sympathy, right? But I don't do that. The goal is to marry empathy and sympathy. It's not my job to alleviate myself from your pain. It's my job to alleviate myself to a place where I can appreciate and feel, take upon, and then from that point of being in your place, alleviating that pain with empathy. Right? Empathy and sympathy must be married. For the moralists who deride ethics, you're wrong. Though you're right in your way, and the same vice versa. For the ethicists who deride morality, you're wrong, but you're right in your way. It must be married. Ethics and morals must be married. Sympathy and empathy must be married. Mary, Mary, Egypt, M-E-R-I, beloved. Mary, M-A-R-Y, rebellious. Now Mary, Mary and Mary, M-A-R-R-Y, Mary. Mary, M-E-R-I, beloved, and M-A-R-Y, rebellious. Mary, the beloved of Egypt, with the rebellious of Judah. With both R's are squared for the mathematicians. Mary. People deride, right? And I have derided, I've come to this, but it's like so important, I absolutely have to say it. Who are the huge females of the age? Nefertiti, Mary Totten, Saint Agnes, Hypatia. What Akhenaten did, the rebellion of Akhenaten, is Moses. But what happened, it was an accelerated movement. So a lot of people who are into the Bible, right, they'll call Akhenaten a heretic, just like the Egyptians did. And what I was trying to say in my previous video was that, essentially, Jesus was opposed to the Pharisees. And in the same way, Moses was opposed to the pharaohs. But in the same way, Abraham was opposed. Abraham was opposed to the Phoenicians. And the funny thing is that, like, Pythagoras is called a Phoenician, yet he hated the Phoenicians in the same way that Heraclitus was from Rhodes, and Heraclitus hated where he came from, right? And Jesus was a Jew, and he hated where he came from. If you're steeped in a particular cultural background, that may sound one way or another, but historically speaking, or rationally speaking, like, those are all the exact same thing. I shouldn't say exact, but they're very similar. Mary. Mary's the mother, right? Okay. So, if you're into art, if you're into women's lib, if you're into history, currently, and I've only seen the advertisement because I've been watching a lot of Catholic videos lately, but, like, there's this advertisement of the Immaculata, which I don't even necessarily really understand what that means, theoretically. But, like, St. Mary's College, the Immaculata Church Project, or Cathedral Project, or whatever, it's a Catholic thing. But anyway, there's this picture of Mary, and we all, we've seen Michelangelo's Pietà, we've seen different images of Mary, but like that Immaculata, like I don't know what it's carved out of, but like the white picture of Mary with a dress and all that. And we talk about like women's rights and like this, that, whatever. So as we look back through time, and it's unfortunate because like some people who are into Egyptology, like they worship Cleopatra. Now, first of all, I should say Egyptology is essentially the prime of the West. It's not the prime of the world. Anybody who's into Egyptology pretty much is also kind of a little bit into either the New or Old Testament of the Bible, or both, right? Well, it's all related. Where's it come from? Because as all that, I'm going to try to do this right, because as I'm doing this video, I'm seeing myself in a mirror. So, we know the seafaring ways of the Mediterranean, which is this slight, more or less oval. And we know how advanced that was. And we know that Egypt in the 18th dynasty was the pinnacle of Egypt, and Hatshepsut was the female pharaoh, the queen, as was Nefertiti in the 18th dynasty, kind of, sort of. The 18th dynasty, which started with what's called Amos, but is also transliterated so many different ways. Amos, Amosis, Amos, Moses, Amosa, Mosa, Moshe, Moses. People always, I shouldn't say, people popularly today associate Ramses with Ramoses, and that's true also, but that breaches the 18th and 19th dynasty gap, but that's okay, because in eternity, kind of, it's blurry lines. Like when you see a cloud, the cloud is there, and the sky is over there, but the edges do blur, so that's okay. It's mostly an 18th dynasty phenomenon, Moses, the Exodus, mostly, but it stretches to the 17th and the 19th. So when you're talking historicity, even though they get some of the dates wrong, it's not quite exactly matching up with the Old Testament, especially when we're talking about, because we're talking about Moses. He's like he's Moses, man, But when you're talking about Benjamin, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the person, or are you talking about the tribe? When you're talking about Judah, you're talking about the person, or you're talking about the tribe? When you're talking about Ephraim, what are you talking about? So sometimes when we're talking about Moses, we're talking about a dude. Sometimes when we're talking about Moses, we're talking about Moshe, a Moses, the first king, the first pharaoh, the first Pharisee of the 18th dynasty. Sometimes we're talking about Thutmose. Sometimes we're talking about Akhenaten, born Amenhotep the Fourth. But these are titles. And his daughter, or who has ascribed to Ben his daughter, Mary Todd, And what I'm saying, what is so important about Mary, right? And this was super important for like, and this is why I say, I say, you know, no, I don't have the authority in any way except for that it's fucking true. Is that Islam is, or rather, Islam as it is known commonly is Old Testament. It's atemporally Old Testament. Dimensions of time. And it's important. It's not messianic. So, in the same way that the Jews of today, or so-called Jews, and what I mean by that isn't what people normally mean, or even what I've said before, like by so-called, what I mean is like, who calls themselves Christians? Who calls themselves scientists, right? Like, you got a geologist on one side, and you got an organic chemist on another side, and you got a particle physicist on another side, and they all call themselves scientists. Well, it's the same thing if you call yourself a Jew, or if you call yourself a fucking Christian, or if you call yourself a fucking, Muslim, Islamic, whatever. Or, Buddhist, or, Confucianist, or whatever. But some people, no matter what discipline you're in, some people get it, some people don't. Yet it all works together. Mary Totten. Akhenaten is the standalone, alright? So if you're into Egyptology, the standalone, absolute, fucking knock out of the park, everybody knows, without knowing it, but knows, is Akhenaten. The sculptures of Akhenaten stand out. So this is where artists are needed, because people are all into Cleopatra. Yet Cleopatra died when Jesus came. Not to mention, I'm going to use this word, and I hope it's the only time. I don't think I've used it before, and I hate this fucking word. I hate it. But I'm going to use it here, because I'm not super impressed with Cleopatra. Cleopatra was a fucking cunt. She sucked. Like, people all like, Cleopatra, bathing in milk, and fucking like killing her slave to prove to like, who was it? Mark Antony? Marcus Aurelius? So-and-so Caesar? Who the fuck was it? Anyway, Cleopatra killed her servant with poison just to prove to a Caesar that she was so powerful she could kill him, but she didn't. And that was the death of Egypt. So people are praising Cleopatra. Fuck Cleopatra, man. Who nobody praising? I shouldn't say nobody, man. And y'all, man, people who on Mary Totten. Mary Totten is the Venus de Milo. Mary Totten is the Venus de Milo plus the birth of Venus, which is really Agnes, plus the Pietà, plus I had one more. The Mona Lisa, all wrapped in one. The sculpture, the artifact. The most beautiful mathematical mind of Egyptian sculpture. with an unadorned, right? Like, the whole bag, well, supposedly the whole bag with Moses is that, like, no graven images. And that's why, because of I mean, Islam, from a Western standpoint, Islam is Moses 2.0, right? And that's why there's no depictions of anything except for words and patterns, which is actually a major advancement. I have nothing against that. I love the beautiful art, the beautiful Islamic art, and I'm so ashamed of myself, and like, I hate myself for not knowing the language and the math. I do. It's so beautiful. But it didn't come from the inception, it came from the Moors. The Moors were not of the lineage of Muhammad. They were of the lineage of Ethiopia infiltrating. And that's kind of a fiction and kind of a story, but it's a way of stating something very, very complex in a compact. So, in one sense, it's a little lie, but in one sense, it's a great truth. And I'll leave you to meditate on that as I do. Yet I feel, I know that enough to state it as a kind of truth. But again, as I mentioned in my previous video, I'm not enlightened. But the light is within me, as this darkness. I still haven't got to Mary. Mary in Egypt is beloved. Alright, this is the one thing I'm going to say. America. America, phonetically, is an Egyptian term. If you went back in time and said some version of America, it would actually mean something. So this is my props with my degenerated white privilege, which is a joke, but with my degenerated white privilege, I want to offer something beyond the narrow, stupid color spectrum of Dharma. Yet at the same time, it does matter, Like, I heard this woman speaking the other day. She's a professor somewhere in California. And she was talking about how, like, black women don't want people to ask them to touch their hair no more, Like, don't ask me to touch my hair, And, like, so on one sense, I, like, totally fucking get that, Yet at the same time, like, I'm weirded out by me. Like, I got a wart on my pinky, and it's like, I kind of want to touch it, and I kind of don't, And, like, I've never grown my beard and my hair this long, I'm 43, just about 44. I think I might be 44. 77, I was born in 77. What year is it? 2021. March already. So yeah, I think I'm 44. But anyway, like, I've never grown my beard this long, and like, I touch it all the fucking time. It feels weird. It looks weird. I look at it in the mirror. I'm like, what's it look like this? What's it look like this? But that's only a little bit of the time. Most of the rest of the time, I'm just like kind of fucking playing with it, thinking. Same with my hair, just kind of like, I do that to me. Like, it's an act of curiosity, of wonder. So at at the time, I totally respect, like, not like, don't fucking touch me, you know. If a bunch of if a bunch of people came up touching me, I'd be like, whoa, 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 you know. Yet at the same time, I recognize the curiosity of difference, you know. And it depends how you come at me, and it depends how I come at you. Yet, if you come at me the wrong way, now, for sure, I'm gonna get pissed, because I'm pissed all the time. I'm a mad motherfucker, you know. There's a reason why it's called going mad, you know. But I need to remind myself that not everything that comes at me is a predator and trying to hurt me. And I so much want a world where we are allowed to be curious, right? So, if there's a black woman out there with, like, because it's true, right? Like, I got this beard. Like, some people might want to touch it, maybe. My beard's all curly and puby, and it has a certain texture to it, you know. But yeah, my hair is very, very fine, very thin. It looks like shit right now because I haven't taken a shower for like 3 weeks or so. Since last time I shaved was the last time I took a shower. But when I'm showered and conditioned, like, my top hair is very fine. Like, and even as ugly as I am, like, it's nice to touch, you know? It feels good, you know. It felt good when I looked better in a certain way, but I probably even felt worse about everything. It's funny how as you get older, cruddier, and uglier, sometimes you can feel a little bit better about yourself. Mary Totten, Mary, M-E-R-I, of Egypt, beloved, M-A-R-Y, Mary, Mother of God, Mary, rebelliousness, rebelling against what? False gods. Mary, M-E-R-I, beloved of God. The beginning of the 18th dynasty Amos, the way in which is transliterated is the moon. And the way Amos is transliterated, at least in Wikipedia, is, what is it? The moon, the father of God. But we associate the moon with the mother. Yet in the white folk West, see, I consider Egypt part of the West, because it's part of the Mediterranean. It's not the center of Central Africa. Egypt, like, I totally respect Africanism, so to speak, Afrocentrism, so to speak, and I'm sorry if I'm using the wrong word. Please understand the spirit of what I'm trying to say. It's that whole Mediterranean bag, right? Now, why is Egypt a big deal? Egypt's a big deal because of Ethiopia. Now, why is Ethiopia a big deal? Because of the coastline from India, you know, from all the way from fucking Japan, China, Korea, India, Pakistan, like all that shit, all the way around to the Mediterranean, right? Now, if you take that circumference or whatever, we know the Mediterranean was this huge thing, right? But in the West, we don't really recognize how at the same time, from more or less Ethiopia to Japan was the same bag and stretching out into Malaysia. It was crazy. It's just that those land masses were so dispersed, that the histories were so dispersed and lost, that we don't understand how important that region was. And we don't understand that the knowledge that the Essene Ethiopians fed to Egypt and then fed to Israel and Judah and then fed to Jesus fucking Christ all came from the same place, man. They fed it everywhere. So we think of the Essenes as spreading up into the, I'm sorry, this way, in mirror. Spreading, because you have Ethiopia, and it's spreading into the greater Mediterranean, right? So from Ethiopia to Egypt, from Ethiopia to Greece, from Ethiopia to Rome, from Ethiopia to Muhammad, from Ethiopia to the Moors, all across northern Africa, all across the Mediterranean, Turkey. Or I'm sorry, Turkey. I'm mixing up because I know as I'm recording this, I'm seeing myself mirror-wise, but I know it's going to be turned the other way. But at the same time, that knowledge was being spread all around the coastline of, I don't even know what it would be, like the Arabian Sea or the Indian Ocean or the Pacific Ocean. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, where did the Essenian Ethiopian knowledge come from? It came from the seafarers first, not only but first, by the sea.